Home is where connections are made, memories are formed, and ideas are born. And no one knows home better than NFM. Thanks for tuning in to I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than trends and dives into what it means to make your house a home.
Hello and welcome to I'm Home, the Home Life Best Life podcast. I'm Tyler Weiskup. Did I just butcher my own name?
It happens, you know? It's not Tyler Smith. So.
It's not Tyler Smith. Yeah, that's a tough one, you know, and embarrassing. I'm just going to keep rolling. Should I keep rolling?
Keep
All right.
Do it.
Well, I'm Tyler Weiskup, joined by my co-host who takes a podcast setup and spikes it like it's hot. It's Becca Sudbeck.
Hi, Tyler.
Oh boy, I just butchered my joke, my name. All right, keep it rolling, keep it rolling. And our other co-host around here, we call her Chicken Dinner because she only serves winners. It's Hilary Walton.
Hey, Tyler.
Hi, Hilary. This episode is going to be so great because we're talking to a hometown hero herself. She's a volleyball star who just recently joined the Omaha Supernovas. Lindsay Krause. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi. I chuckle a little bit when you said hometown hero.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Feel silly?
It feels silly because I'm like, what am I a hero of? I'm like, what have I done?
Volleyball
You know?
dominance.
Yes. Okay. Fair.
100%.
Fair. Yes.
Putting Omaha on the map.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's very much earned, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll convince you at the end of the
Okay.
episode.
Okay. We'll see.
But before we officially launch, I want to tell everybody why we're doing this podcast. And that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. We're in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life. And you can learn more at nfm.com. Okay, Lindsay, I have a little bio to introduce you to the audience. We already kind of did the hometown hero stuff, so we'll allude to that a little bit. And again, feel free to hop in with more insights if you'd like. You are a Nebraska native, a former standout for the Huskers. You're now a professional volleyball player for the Supernovas. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're known for powerful plays. You have this like team first mentality. You are a four-time, this is the hometown hero part, four-time state champion from Scud Catholic, right here in Omaha. You're a key player who helped Nebraska to multiple postseason runs. And again, we're so excited to have you here.
Yes. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. And so I'd love to ask, recently moved to the professional world in the Supernovas. And I think there's just something special about playing for a team that represents your home state. And you've been lucky enough to be able to be in your home state for a while. I wonder if you can talk about like the hometown energy, that crowd vibe, and especially now that you're playing for the Supernovas, is it something that you think a lot about when you're stepping out there on the court?
Yeah, it's something that I am beyond grateful for, to have this opportunity to get to stay, not even just in America for one, but in my state of Nebraska. I'm born and raised in Papillion, and I drive to the College of St. Mary's every day to have professional volleyball practice. I get to play at CHI Health Center, which I grew up going to, concerts and games there when it was the Quest Center, 20 years ago.
Yes.
So it's a really full circle moment for me. I am just so fortunate to even say that I got to play college volleyball in my home state and, represent a place where I grew up, and only 45 minutes down the road from my entire family, really. And so growing up, I always had this idea of, if I want to play professional volleyball, I would have to go, overseas. I would have to go over there for what is likely 8 months out of the year, be kind of secluded from my family, my friends, everything, and really just give up an entire life here at home just to pursue volleyball overseas. And though that is something that I've loved doing, it would be a really hard decision to make. It would be a really hard choice. And I feel like that's why so many women decided not keep playing when they otherwise could, because they didn't have the opportunity. And it is so difficult, even beyond just the physicality of being a professional athlete. And so I feel like I'm eternally grateful for this league being a thing, for Omaha drafting me, for everything that has come along with it, because I am definitely kind of on cloud nine with that still.
I love that. And we were talking a little bit about like the transition from college to pro, and you said it's been like not as hard as you thought, or at least it's been pretty good
so
far.
Yeah, so I feel like part of that has to do with the fact that I'm not trying to get my footing in a new city or move across the country and then join a new volleyball team. I'm living in my house that I grew up in. I'm renting it from my mom, which is, funny because it's not like I'm living with my parents. I'm living. I'm an adult, but I'm living in my hometown. I'm living in my house. I'm driving, like I said, to College of St. Mary's, which obviously we know where that is. I'm here in Nebraska, Furniture Mart, all of this stuff. I'm doing all the things that I've already done for my whole life. And so having that under my belt really made this transition easier because I could kind of put all of my attention towards volleyball and understand that this is where I need to really get my footing. And I don't really have to worry about compartmentalizing other ideas or aspects of my life because that's kind of already figured out. So that transition made that easier. On top of the fact that as far as just volleyball goes, I played at Nebraska, which is, it's a great thing to say, but it also really prepared me, I would say, for the quote unquote real world of like volleyball and like professional athletics because, we have such a high standard of play, of professionalism, of being a person in that program. And so I think it really set me up for success leaning into this transition.
Yeah, definitely. And I it's so exciting to have all of that, just that hometown energy, to be here, all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I was getting to know a little bit about you in preparation for this interview is and I'm getting that vibe definitely just talking to you before we jumped on the call and in the short time that we've been talking on mic, is this like lighthearted, like pretty good, like just even keel approach to life. And I think your teammates have called this out. Like, you're just fun to be around. And I'm curious from your perspective, because not every athlete is like that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is the benefit to, having that kind of approach that just, hey, this is a game, we're here to have fun. We're going to play hard, but like having fun is a huge part of it.
Right. I think as I was younger, I really emphasized like being so passionate about what I was doing. And I think as I've grown up and I've kind of dealt with at times what could be like a very unhealthy relationship with sport, we're elite athletes and we're, scrutinized and all this attention on us for something that we're when we're in college, like we're still very young, we're still learning to do things. We have a giant course load on top of everything that we're doing, yet there's always something that's going to be like going wrong and something that people always want to talk about. And so for me, learning to have that relationship of being okay with not being perfect, that's not what God put me on earth for, to hit a volleyball hard, and I feel like I found that balance of why I'm here doing what I'm doing, but also what I'm doing that I enjoy doing. And so I still have that like fiery passion and like excitement and love for playing volleyball, and I care so much about it. But at the same time, I think it should be such a high priority to also emphasize how much fun it is while you're doing it, and still being able to, laugh at stupid stuff and take yourself not very seriously sometimes. And I think that it is more than possible to like be super passionate and care so much and be serious in those moments while also having that same personality. I feel like growing up, you're kind of told you can either be one or the other. And that's the kind of teammate that you are. You're either the fun, lighthearted person, or you're the one that takes everything seriously and you have to keep everybody in check. And as I've grown up, I have found a really good balance between those two things. And I think that's why, as I became a junior and senior in Nebraska, that's why I think I got so much respect from my teammates, because they knew that we could have a good time, but then I was also going to be there when they needed stuff from me or when I needed to put them in their place in some situations, stuff like that. And I mean, even just being on this team for a month now, like Bird has already started calling me like team mom. Team mom. Let me rephrase. Team TEAM mom. I don't know why. I think it was just like little stuff that she's noticed. I'm like looking at Nati, who's like our 15-year pro veteran. I'm like, Nati, pull your knee pads up. They're around your ankles. Stuff like that, where I'm like, guys, I made the packing list for our away games, and stuff like, it's just funny stuff like that Bird has already kind of like given me this like little idea of like team mom, because like I like to take care of everybody, but I also like to be the one joking around and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly something to like taking care of your teammates in a way, and like like having fun with them or making sure that they're
Yeah.
having a good time and finding the fun and in the mix with all the serious stuff
Yes,
too.
yes.
All the best moms do.
Yes, I think that's what's important is like you have to have the balance between being stern and serious
Mhm.
and getting your job done because
Mhm.
at the end of the day we are professionals. This is the job,
your job.
that we're working for.
Mhm.
We have to be able to get this job done. But it's the same in any other job. You know, you people say that I don't want to go in the workforce and be unhappy. You know, so it's
Yeah.
the exact same thing as any
Mhm.
other job. Yes, we're here to get wins. We're here to get our job done. We're here to do this, but we're also gonna find a way to have fun while doing it.
Yeah. Is that something that you sound like you've reflected upon that a lot and you've certainly learned that through like your experiences? Is this something that you just kind of like picked up through your own experiences, or did you have somebody in your life kind of like reinforcing this message to you to find that balance?
Yeah, I think it's something that I kind of alluded to of like a lot of elite athletes. It's something that's coming out more
Mhm.
now of it's okay to talk about like their mental health and their
Mhm.
the things that they're facing. And I think something that I really came to terms with probably around like my earlier years of college is just like really massive issues with imperfection. And you
Mhm.
know, I think that's what any elite athlete deals with growing up, especially when you make it to the college level, is like inadequacy is not an option.
Right. You're expected to be perfect.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Like that's not an option. How dare I not be perfect all the
Mhm.
time? And so I feel like allowing myself to lean into more of the side that is allowed to have fun in practicing games kind of brings more room into the idea of not having to be perfect all the time.
Mhm.
When you're able to step away from like a practice or a game and have different metrics for how you're going to, I guess you could say, grade yourself of how
Mhm.
your day went, you know. So I'm not going to always grade myself of how many kills did I have, how many errors did I have, how many aces did I have. I can come away from practice and being like, today wasn't my best day, but I was fully locked in the whole time and I may not have executed, but was I still talking? Was I still being loud? Was I still giving energy to my teammates? Was I still doing all the things that's like intangible as an athlete, especially as you get older?
Mhm.
And so I feel like that was something that I had to find in college because I think that is a massive reason why so many people, you see them as athletes and then you kind of like are like almost blindsided. You're like, why are they not as happy as like
Mhm.
you might think they
Mhm.
are? You know, whenever athletes kind of want to talk about this mental health, it always seemed like a stigma because people would bite back and being
Mhm.
like, well, you're getting paid to do this, you know,
Right.
like just figure it out.
Mhm.
And that's just like that's not reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's really impressive that you've managed to find that balance and you have such a healthy balance
Mhm.
between the two too. It's clear to see why people admire you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you've talked to us a little bit like before we officially started recording about what your day looks like, but us 9-to-5ers are always so fascinated by what a typical day looks like for athletes, like particularly for you in
Mhm.
season. Can you take
Mhm.
us through what that looks like?
Yeah, it's been a little all over the place for the last few weeks, I will say, and I think that is kind of our normal. So, like a normal during the week, I would say practices. Like if we're here in Omaha, we will practice up at the College of St. Mary's. Like they just built that new field house, and it's nice. So we have two really nice courts there that we'll practice at during the week, and we'll usually lift in the morning before practice, like twice a week. And our normal practices for us are like a 10 to 1 like morning slot, and then typical days will just be done after that. But if it's maybe a travel day, so like we go to Columbus in the morning, so we have a game at Columbus on Friday, so we'll go to Columbus in the morning. We'll be traveling all day. Our layovers in Denver. Don't
Yeah.
don't get
Right
any
on
of
the
us
way to
don't get
Columbus.
any of us started about that.
A pit stop
Got our
al-
layovers
along
in
the
Denver to go
way.
to Columbus, Ohio.
On the
but
direct route.
literally. So we'll get there. We'll go practice at their gym. We'll watch video. We'll do all that stuff. We'll wake up on game day. So like a typical game day for us, whether it's home or away, we'll wake up. We'll have a servant pass, which is we just go to the gym for about an hour, get touches, have a pre-match meal, and then we'll go play our game. And so like a typical game day like that would look the same whether we're at an away game or at CHI. So if we were a home game, we would go have servant pass at CHI. And so most of our practices are at the College of St. Mary's, but if we have like a home game, maybe we'll practice at CHI the day before or stuff like that. So it's a lot of, hey guys, we won't be here tomorrow. Make sure you pack your volleyball shoes to go to the new place we'll be at tomorrow. stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
always so many reminders. Hey guys, pack your volleyball shoes. Hey guys,
Uh-huh.
pack your volleyball shoes. Like we're at St. Mary's for 2 days, then we go to Columbus, then we're back
Uh-huh.
at St. Mary's, and we're at CHI for the next 2 days next week. So a lot of stuff like that. It's a little all
Yeah.
over the place.
Understand why they need a teen mom.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is forgetting the shoes like the top thing that people do, or
It's because it's not necessarily like they forgot their shoes. It's more just like they forget that we won't be back
Yeah,
where we are
to get them.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
it's like we're leaving at like 7 a.m. in the
You
morning.
need them with
So it's
you.
more just like, hey guys, we are going to Columbus tomorrow. Remember to put your shoes in your bag so you can pack them to go to Columbus. Like we're not coming back to St. Mary's in the morning to practice.
Mhm.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
right?
Because there's no like, I mean, there's a little bit of a routine, but it's not like consistent week to
No,
week.
not
either,
a
so-
ton. It's because it also depends on if we have home games or away games, or if we have a
Mhm.
midweek game, or some weeks we have 2 games, some weeks we only have 1 game.
Yeah.
It changes week to week a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes me
Keeping you on
appreciate
your toes.
Yeah.
parts of my 9 to 5 that I
Yeah.
just
The
show up with my
consistency,
little
yeah.
computer every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun to have a little bit of like mystery and
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah, for sure. And in some ways, it's definitely nice because if like a day like yesterday where we finish practice and it's 1:30 and I go home, I have the rest of the day. Like
Yeah, that's nice.
That's it. We're not traveling for another couple days, so this is just a normal day, and we have practice, and then I have the rest of my afternoon, evening off. So that is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
one of the other questions that we're always curious about for athletes specifically is around like superstitions and like how they kind of prep for the game, if there's
Yeah.
any like specific kinds of routines and things. Do you have any of that within like how you, well, let's just say game day,
Yeah.
approach like game day?
Honestly, not really. I think a lot of people have a lot of routines, like game day routines that they
Mhm.
like to do. It kind of gets them into game mode. But I've never really had anything where I'm like, I need to do this or I want to feel this. I always like to get to the gym pretty early, but I feel like that's about it as far as it goes for my personal routine, you
Mhm.
could say. Yeah, I like to get there. I like to get settled in, and I'm never somebody who likes to be like late and like
Mhm.
can get ready really fast. Like I have some of my teammates that can show up like 15 minutes before we're supposed to be on the court for warm-ups, and I'm just like, I could never do
Yeah.
that. That would stress me
Feels
out. So
chaotic.
I always
Right.
get to the gym quite a bit earlier, but besides that, I don't have a ton. I mean,
Like, how early is early?
like an hour before
Okay,
warm-ups,
yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
just because
Yeah, it takes out stress.
I have to get my
Mhm.
ankles taped, and
Yeah.
then like sometimes if my hair's not done, I gotta do my hair.
Mhm.
And then I just like to be able to just like sit
Yeah.
and like do whatever
Right.
I'm doing, whether that's scrolling on my phone, whether that's I brought my book to the gym, just whatever. I can just be sit and be ready.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about like
Yep.
not be one of those people where I'm like, guys, we have to be on the court in 4 minutes, and they're like going to like change still, stuff like that. That stresses me.
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
I know some people
Fair.
thrive in that,
Right.
but I could never do
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking like right now about your time at the Supernovas, but
Mhm.
let's go back to your time with Nebraska. Obviously, in the last, 3-4 years, even before that, Nebraska has become such a powerhouse in volleyball. Lots of really big moments. Is there a specific game, conversation, maybe even a tough loss that like you really remember and has helped shaped how you approach volleyball and life?
Yeah, I think what I can take away most from my time in Nebraska is definitely the amount of people that are there whose job is solely to make my life easier. And I think I found a lot of appreciation for people who work in, I guess, the university setting.
Yeah. Or
no matter what that aspect is of life. I have my strength coach, Brian. He's spending weekends away with. He travels us to every away game, and he has 4 kids that are like under 11. He's like missing Thanksgiving with his family. He's missing this. He's missing that. Missing Halloween with his family. And I think it just really put into perspective how grateful and how lucky I am to get this opportunity to play volleyball at this high level, to get these experiences, to go to college and all that stuff, but also put it in perspective and be so grateful for every single person, like all of my coaches, all of our grad assistants, every single support staff person that we have. So many people are working every single day to make my life easier and to make my life more successful. And I think as I got older, I leaned into that and I learned more about that. And that really made me that much more appreciative for, I guess, my opportunity to do what I was doing. And that was honestly the biggest thing about college, on top of, the relationship with my teammates and getting some lifelong friends. But I would say the most of stuff that I learned about either myself or the world or any sort of thing like that kind of really came from the idea of just being there. Not a lot came from, the volleyball court.
Right.
Obviously we learn how to work together with other personalities. You learn how to work through losses, work through struggles. And we did a lot of that, but I think a lot of that came from stuff not on the volleyball court.
Right.
And you learn how to work together and be grateful for every situation that you're in.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. This may be an obvious one, but were you a part of like the memorials, the stadium sports record, like that, all that thing?
Yeah, that
Tell
was
us a little
my
bit
that
about
was my
yeah.
junior season. It was like our third match or something. So yeah, that was my junior season.
Yeah. What was it like being just like in the stadium during that game?
It was honestly insane. I don't think that I like remember it, honestly. I think that's how crazy it was and how odd it seemed.
Yeah.
I think at times it also they were so far away that I think a lot of the time I talked to my teammates and we were joking that it felt like it was kind of just like we were playing and there was like a green screen on one side of the on one side of the field, because we were on like a far side of the field, so there was like 70 yards going one way before the people were there. So I was like, it looks like on the southern side of the stadium there's just like a green screen of people because there was just so many people and so far away. But it was incredible, and honestly I'm so grateful for that opportunity to get to say that I was a part of that. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah,
all by itself.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Well, you talked about, getting through some, like working together through losses, challenges, and struggles. And you've had your own struggles and you had to overcome some adversity. Your junior year, you were sidelined because of an injury, victim of a hit and run accident. Can you talk to us about how that team, that home team, that circle of people helped you get through that and how you kind of kept your focus through that?
I think that was the first time, as far as volleyball goes, that I really I'm trying to find a way to articulate this. I think a lot of people grow up and they get to a certain point of, do I like what I'm doing or do I do it because I'm good at it? I think there is definitely a difference between those things. And I think learning which is the reason you're doing it is important. And I don't think necessarily there is a right way or a wrong way, but sometimes knowing where your priorities lie and knowing your purpose and your why for doing things is really important. And that is a key to being successful. And so I think around that time, I was having some doubts in my life of just like, am I doing this because I like doing it? Or am I doing this just because like I've always been good at it? I've always been better than everyone else growing up doing it. So is that why I chose to keep doing it? And I think so obviously I messed up my shoulder for like a couple weekends after my accident. And then a couple weeks after that, I'm playing again. And then I basically had a season-ending ankle injury. So I didn't play again the whole rest of the year. So like the last 2 months. And I think going to practice every day, watching games, going to rehab, everything like that really solidified in me. Like, I do this because I love doing it. Like it is painful every day.
It's
Like
a grind
to watch, just watch everyone out there doing what I wish I was doing. And it really also puts into perspective how grateful I am for my body and like the ability that I have to do what I was doing. Cause I'm diving, throwing my body on the ground all over the place. I'm jumping 300 times at practice. I'm doing all these things. And now, I'm struggling to walk without a limp. And, I think that put into perspective a lot for me and what I was grateful for. And so I think everyone, like my trainers and our coaches and my teammates, like everyone kind of, they put that love and they poured that into me and they knew how hard it was for me. But at the same time, I think they gave me space and they didn't put too much expectation on me as far as not getting better, but as far as just like being present and like doing all the stuff that like I might typically do or my typical personality. Like I was definitely very down. Like that was a really hard time. And I don't think they put any pressure on me to like be who I quote normally am, just because they understood how difficult that was for me. And they were there to support me regardless. And they were there to help me through that. But I think that was a lot of like reflecting that I did. And that was a really big reason for me to decide to continue to play pro volleyball because I'm like, I do this because I genuinely love doing it. And it is so fun. And I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, that's really beautiful and really
Yeah.
inspiring. And I just like with every answer, I'm really impressed at how like introspective
Right.
you
Yeah.
are and these
I
like
mean, I think it
learning
takes a long,
lessons.
like some people
Mhm.
never would probably figure that out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's something that at the end of the careers, a lot of people, I think, look back and they kind of like question.
Right.
We're like,
Mhm.
why did I do this? And I
Right.
think that's something that we talked about in college a lot is having a why and, knowing why you
Mhm.
are playing, no matter what that is. But like, if you know the reason that you step on the court every day and like what you're playing for, you're automatically going to be like that much stronger and that much more motivated
Mhm.
because of it.
Mhm.
Go back to this idea of having fun. I'm sure playing for Scott, winning those championships, and like being part of that team had to be like some of the funnest times. Would you say?
Yeah, it was great. I loved high school volleyball. It was so much fun. We really all, I guess, at such a young age, like bought into the idea of like the pillars and the discipline of what it takes to, I guess, be great and win championships. And I think Renee Saunders being our head coach, obviously like she was the main, I guess, instigator of that, like pushing that forward. And I think she's done such a beautiful job with that program. And I'm so lucky to have gotten to play there. And I think it's honestly insane and it's a talent and it's something to commend her for that she's able to get 14 to 18-year-olds to like
buy into that.
buy
Yeah.
into that, to focus so heavily
Uh-huh.
on not just winning a championship, but like the pillars of our program that we have. Like she instills in us from like the moment we step on that in that high school gym. She's like, we are people who act with championship behavior. We have people who act with putting the team before me in all things. Like she's like, this is how we are. And I think when you're able to put such clear priorities in place from like day one, that's when you're able to be successful because you don't have moments in the season where you're wavering at any times. And that's stuck with me ever since, I was 14 years old. And so I think that's why when you're able to have such strong identities, like whether that's as a person or as a team, those are always going to be the teams that are more successful because they know where their priorities are. They know why they're playing. They know why they're playing with one another.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We may have already touched on this, but
Okay.
is there, I don't know if this is
Yeah.
the same answer or you can, expand on it, but what's one part of being an athlete that you think people either misunderstand or don't talk about enough?
Excuse me. I think, oh wow, that's actually really hard. I don't know. That was one I've struggled with thinking about, of just like outside of, the idea of mental health struggles, and because obviously that's natural, everyone struggles with that, but I think people don't know about. Guys, I don't know. I'm struggling here. But it's something that people don't know about,
I mean, it's
or
either
or maybe misunderstood.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why I was wondering if the mental health
Yeah.
part,
Well, I feel like
just in the
that
recent years that's coming
yeah,
to,
yeah,
the
that is
forefront.
definitely a big one, and it's definitely something that's becoming destigmatized.
Right.
That's for
Mhm.
sure. Like I feel like it's always been there, but that's something that's becoming destigmatized. But as an athlete, I think there's like certain things that like people may think like come more naturally to like people who are always like on that stage of like people watching or like
Mhm.
expected to
You're in a
perform or
fishbowl.
being under
Yeah.
pressure or
Mhm.
stuff like that, when that's like not realistic, of like that things like come naturally to those people, as far as like being able to like quote perform under pressure. Like I'm terrified of like public speaking, like if I had to like get up in front of
Yeah.
a crowd, like I would break down, like that, like that's like I would actually have like that's my nightmare scenario, but like I can go, like Tyler said, play on a volleyball court in front of 92,000
Right.
people. Like that's
Mhm.
fine. But
Mhm.
if someone handed me a microphone,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that's reps. So I think it's just maybe stuff like that where it's just not every scenario is the same.
Yeah.
And that's just because you're successful in one aspect doesn't mean that like automatically, I guess, translates to something else
Right.
that may seem like they are similar
Yep.
ideas or experiences,
Mhm.
because like that's just like not
Yeah.
realistic. And also just the idea of all players being quote the same when they're playing a specific sport, I think.
Sure.
Like, like there's this idea like volleyball, like it's very like you have to communicate a lot, it's very loud, it's very fast paced, like so it would make sense for a lot of people to like have those kind of personalities or
Mhm.
like the way that they play. Whereas like I could think of like 4 teammates on my team right now where we were having like a little team meeting trying to like talk about like what our team like pillars are going to be, and we had to be like, okay, who hasn't talked yet, and then be like, okay, we're waiting, and we like all know who the girls are that like haven't talked yet because that's just their personalities,
Right.
and so just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's a great example. I'm curious. I'd love to pivot a little bit. You talked about living in your childhood home. You're
Mhm.
paying your mom rent now.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about that house.
Yeah, I mean that's the house that I personally have lived in since I was like 3 years old.
Wow.
I want to say it's down towards, it's in Papillion. It's towards like Papillion Vista South High School.
Mhm.
And I mean, I have memories of us being the only house there for miles.
Oh.
Like now they've developed so much of that area.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just like, it's funny because I can drive with my boyfriend who's from Colorado, but he obviously lives here with me. And I can like drive down being like 10 years ago, that was grass. Like when I was in middle school, that was a cornfield, stuff like
Mhm.
that. So it's crazy to see how much the area has been developing,
Mhm.
even over the last like 5 years since I've been away. We'll go eat somewhere, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't know that was there. He'd be like, you're from here. I'll be like,
Yeah.
these places pop up
Right.
all over the place, and
Right.
they're just constantly changing, constantly building
Yeah.
stuff. I'm
Yeah.
like, that was not there. I'm like, sorry, I don't know. I wasn't living here. I was in Lincoln. But it's crazy to see how much everything around it has been so developed. But like I can go home and it's still like my same house that I've lived in for
Mhm.
20 years, almost
Mhm.
20 years.
Yeah. Is like the aesthetic of the house, has it kind of like stayed in place for that whole
No,
time? Has it like
no,
changed and adapted?
No,
Yeah.
it's changed so much. I always joke because my mom went through this phase where she painted every wall in the house blue.
No.
Every wall was a different shade of blue. And I'm like, Mom, this is ugly. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's so ugly. And she's fine. And then like one wall's like brown now, but whatever. The point is it was always just like a ton of furniture and like stuff that was always so old because like my parents never got anything new. It was always just like, oh, my great aunt Carol
Hand-me-downs,
they
yeah.
had me this, let's use it, stuff like that. So I think as I got older, they got some newer stuff, but then also like now that they finally moved out and I've moved in there with my boyfriend, it's a lot more just like, it's definitely like our like quote vibe, like we're two people in our young 20s or earlier 20s. So we're like trying to like make it feel like it's our house, not like it's my mom's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like about and like fusing some personality and
yes.
fitting it to fit your lifestyle, where
my goodness,
your parents' generation is like, this is the formal sitting room,
Right.
and we don't eat in
Yes.
here. It's just for
You don't
sitting,
eat on
I
the
guess.
couch.
Yes.
Why
Yes.
not?
Yes. Like, thankfully, we've like thrown some of those rules like out the
Yes.
window and confused some
For
some
sure.
personality into
Well,
it.
I also underestimated how difficult it would be to try to find decor that both me and my boyfriend agree on.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's like, I want this. I'm like, why? It's ugly.
Yeah.
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 He's like, I'm like, okay, like we should put this here. And he's like, well, that doesn't go there. What do you mean that doesn't go there? Or I'll like put the calendar in a certain spot. He's like, I don't like that. I'm like, okay, sorry. Where do you want to put the day? Like literally this massive calendar. I like put it somewhere in our room. He's like, that doesn't go there. I'm sorry. Where does it go? On the front door? Like, come on, just stuff like that where I'm like racking my brain trying to like find compromise between the two of us because we both have such strong personalities when it comes to stuff like that. And I wouldn't say we're totally different, but we have like very different interests.
Yes.
So it's like I want to put up a picture of like my favorite book poster. And he's like, I don't like that picture. I'm like, well, this has meaning to me. I don't care if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yes.
He's like, he wants to put up a few of his vinyls. And I'm like, I don't like that artist. Can you pick a different one? Like stuff like that, where it's such minute detail. But it's like when you're trying to decorate your space.
Yeah, I mean, those are the
Exposes
things
it
that
makes
make
it so hard.
And those are the things that make it like your home.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Good
No,
luck.
I've decided I got to
Don't
the point.
ask.
No,
Just
literally.
do it.
I got to the point where I just stopped. I would just like show up, be like, I bought a lamp.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you, I'm putting it here.
Uh-huh.
I bought a lamp. You don't get to, I bought a
Be
lamp.
assertive.
No, literally. I'd be like, hey, I got this picture where you put it on the wall. Just, I'm not even, it's not a question anymore. I'm like, just do it.
Right.
Please.
Yep. It'll fall into place.
Yes, literally.
Okay, Lindsay, I have a really quick wrap up
Okay.
game for you.
Okay.
So the Supernovas, my
Okay.
understanding is they don't have a mascot yet. Is this true?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have some mascot pitches that I'm
Oh,
gonna
boy.
run by you.
Buckle
Okay.
up.
Just really quick, I want your honest opinion.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell me if it's brilliant or if it's a black hole of an idea.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
I'm pretty
punny.
clever.
Loves the fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is Nova, the Nebraskan narwhal.
Narwhal?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Black hole.
Black hole.
Sorry. I forgot what my options were. No wasn't an option. Black hole.
Okay.
I love it.
She didn't have to
Stella,
think about that
I
one.
love it. I love
Stella Star, and the idea that I have with Stella is that she has like like she can bust out some like glitter and confetti and stuff like she has a trail. So what do you
Okay.
think? Stella Star, brilliant.
That's definitely better than the first option.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Well,
An
yeah.
improvement.
Yeah. It's definitely improvement.
Okay, I've improved. All right. Let's see if I can improve or if I'm going to go down the black
Oh,
hole
boy.
again here.
I see
This
some
one
that are
is
not looking
Blaze
good.
the Galactic Cow. Because in Nebraska, right? So we're gonna have
Valid.
a yeah.
Okay.
So what do you think?
That
Blaze?
I would say black
Cow.
hole, but that only because that I started laughing because that makes me think of when me and my teammates we were talking about arena football because we played we played somewhere. I'm sorry, I need to focus. We played somewhere where they also in that arena they also played arena football and they were like, "What's arena football?" And I was like, "You've never heard of the Omaha Beef?"
Yeah. Omaha beef. Yeah.
And a few of my teammates were actually crying, laughing about that nickname because they're not from
Yeah.
they're A, not from Nebraska. B, they have NFL teams, so
Yes.
they've never heard of arena football. I'm like,
Right.
guys, we have the Omaha Beef, and they thought that was the funniest thing on earth that they have. They're like, "What's arena football?" And we were just having this whole long conversation during practice, so that's why I'm just saying no to the cow.
You don't want to overshadow the
Yeah,
beef.
we don't want to overshadow the beef. It's a little too overdone.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Two more. Supernova Spike. Okay, and the idea that I have for this one is like it's a volleyball that you light on fire at halftime.
But like, isn't a mascot something that somebody like dresses as?
Yeah, it can be a volleyball, but we light it on
And
fire,
then you
then we'll
light
have to
that person on
extinguish
fire.
Light that person on
extinguish it.
fire.
Wouldn't that be cool though?
No,
Because
it
it's
is
like,
cool.
It's your
I
fiery
think there's
passion.
potential there.
Okay.
I
all
think
right.
there's potential there. However, I don't think that the dressed up person should be just like a volleyball.
Okay.
I think there is potential there though. I like the fire aspect. That's a good
Yes.
one.
Right? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, last one.
Volleyball's
This is
obvious.
my quirkiest, I think.
Okay.
But I feel like a lot of teams now they have like a signature song or dance or something
Yeah,
that they're doing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like the idea here, it's Luna, the lunar lobster. Okay. Because I like that song Rock Lobster. I feel like nobody is using that one right now for their that song.
I can't say I know that song.
You don't know? Oh, you gotta
No,
look this up.
but
Rock Lobster.
But you know
Like,
what I
that's how it
told
goes.
my coach is that when we came out for our home games, they were playing Welcome to the Jungle. And I was like, this is such a missed opportunity for them right now. Why aren't they playing Thunderstruck?
Yeah.
I was like,
Mhm.
we are the Supernovas. And I was like, and you can't tell me that like those two songs, like if you were just playing it in the background, don't sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
Similar. Very
You know what I
similar.
mean?
Totally.
Like if you
Same
just-
vibe.
If you were just passively
Yeah.
listening,
Yes.
those
Same
are
vibe.
very
Heavy
similar vibes.
bass,
Yes. So I was like,
thumping.
this is they have a missed opportunity right here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's just what that makes me think of. It's
Yeah.
it's again, I think your Stella Star was the best one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for
You're
indulging
welcome.
me. We have to wrap up. You really smashed this interview. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
I want to thank my co-hosts Becca and Hilary. I want to thank our producer Scott and Ann, and all of our listeners. Make sure to go to nfm.com/podcast. We're still looking for questions or things that you want us to discuss. We're giving out free advice here on the podcast. I think that's gonna do it for us. But we'll close as we always do. Remember, home is what you make it.
Thanks for joining us today for I Am Home with Tyler Weisskopf, Hilary Woltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. No one knows home quite like NFM. So if you'd like more information on home design at NFM, please check out nfm.com and leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice.